Hello, welcome in this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about a brief history of tarot. I'm going to talk a little bit about the origins of the most popular tarot deck that can be found today. Before we get into that Tarot Talk topic, I'm just going to give some time for some viewers to join us on this broadcast. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's new at Stafford Tarot and then get into some of the upcoming events to look forward to that are coming up. And then I'll get right into that Tarot Talk topic. And once we finish that discussion, I will then be offering 6 free short remote readings over this broadcast to the first 6 people who show interest in the chat during. So you just have to write interested in the chat and let me know, and I will add you to the list. And if you don't make it on the list, don't worry. I do have an upcoming draw that I can add you to. So there's lots of chance for opportunity to get a free reading tonight. So what's new with Stafford Tarot? Before I get into that, I should just mention that if you're watching this video from my website and you're just interested in seeing the short sample readings, feel free to skip ahead about 20-30 minutes into the broadcast or into the video. As I said, I will be offering those short readings to anyone who shows interest in the broadcast during. So what's new? I'm always updating the staffordtarot.com website. On the website, you can look at the event announcements for upcoming public events, helpful tarot tips, reading associations, self-learning exercises, free video lessons, and the Stafford Tarot blog, all geared towards helping you learn to do tarot for yourself if you're interested. There are also many free reading opportunities available that are described on my website. At all public events that are listed in the upcoming events section, I always offer free 1-card impression pulls. If to anyone who comes to my Stafford Tarot table at markets and festivals, while I'm between private sessions. I also have the monthly free draw that happens. There's a 1 in 5 chance to win a free remote tarot reading over Zoom. How you get involved in that draw, you simply like, comment, or share any social media post that mentions the draw and you're automatically included. I do go looking for anyone who got involved, add them to the list. I literally take all the names, cut them up, put them in a hat, and draw the winners. As I said, it's a 1 in 5 chance. So for example, if I get 20 people involved in the draw, I'm going to choose 5 winners. And 25 people, I'm going to choose 6. And I always keep that ratio 1 to 5. I also have an opportunity for the full moon and new moon oracle card pulls that are available online. This happens twice a month, again, around the full moon and the new moon. It's a distant public general reading that is a card pull that is in hopes that it helps those with the energies of the time. And of course, I have my free online Tarot Talk live events, such as tonight, where I discuss a Tarot Talk topic and I offer up to 6 free short readings to anyone who shows interest during the broadcast. If you're interested in participating in any of the upcoming online workshops, please watch the event announcements at staffordtarot.com. Some of those upcoming workshops are going to include another Spirit Talk live event. This is an introduction to mediumship workshop that I've facilitated quite a few times now. It's gone very well. It's very successful. Lots of fun to get involved. And so watch for that if you're interested. I will also be offering a Learn Tarot online workshop. This is an introductory course to learn to do self-readings for yourself if you're interested. If you need more one-on-one assistance in learning to read the tarot, then this workshop is for you. It teaches a technique called the Path, which is an intuitive style learning technique, so that you don't have to memorize the complicated descriptions out of the book that comes with the tarot deck. And then I am also offering group mediumship sessions, either available remotely as well as in-person events, parties, as well as corporate functions. All that information is available. Check it all out at staffordtarot.com. Some of those upcoming events to look forward to. As I mentioned, I have my monthly free draw. The next draw is going to be happening on Monday, June 18th, 2024. I usually do the draw around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then I get back to the winners. I only respond to winners. So if you don't receive a message from me, good luck next time. Feel free to get involved in the next draw. Um, I should mention that I respond back to the winners through the platform that they got involved. So, for example, if you get a hold of me on Facebook, you like the um, social media post on Facebook that mentions the draw and you're included in and you win, then you'll be contacted through Facebook, probably through Facebook Messenger, so that it's a private conversation. I do not publicize the winners. The reason for that is because some people prefer to gain a tarot reading confidentially or on a private topic or question. And so I do leave it confidential as to who comes to me for readings. Then I will be offering that full moon oracle pull on Friday, June 21st, 2024. Check a couple days beforehand. I do release those card pulls leading up to the energies of that time. And then I will be in Niagara Falls for the Stafford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association Carnival. This is an exciting event. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to run from June 20th till June 23rd, 2024. It's going to take place at Fireman's Park in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Watch for the Stafford Tarot table. As I mentioned, I will be offering free one-card impression pulls to anyone who finds the Stafford Tarot table while I'm between private sessions. I will have the new moon oracle pull on Friday, July 5th, 2024. Again, watch a couple days ahead of time for that release on my website. And then I'm looking forward to the next Tarot Talk live event, which will be happening on Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. It's going to start around 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, similar to tonight. And all you do to get involved, or if you'd like to join the broadcast, is to go to facebook.com/bryantarotreading and join the live event. That topic is going to be on fortune telling using cards. However, tonight's Tarot Talk topic is going to be on a brief history of tarot. So let's get right into that topic. Give some time for some viewers to join. Excuse me. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for joining. I do see some participants starting to get onto the live. At any time, please let me know if you're interested in joining the list for a free reading later in the broadcast after we go through that Tarot Talk discussion. So, a brief history of tarot. Tarot is one of the most widely used divination tools today. It's not as simple as using a pendulum or doing tea leaf readings, for example. There's much more symbolisms and associations involved with reading the messages from the cards. There we go. Sorry about that. I seem to have lost my connection. I do hope I'm back. And I do see more people joining. Thank you so much. I'm just looking through the chat here before I get any further into that reading. Absolutely. I see some requesting free readings. Elizabeth. And Lindsay. I'm just going to compile my list quickly while I see them on there. And Cynthia, I think you're requesting one too. And Jeff. And Annette. So I have one more place available for anyone who's interested. If you didn't hear your name, let me know and I will add you to the list. And so, as I was mentioning, I'm not sure how much I got cut off on when we lost the connection, so I'll just mention again that reading tarot is not as simple as using pendulums or following tea leaf readings, different forms of divination. There's much more symbolisms and associations involved in reading the cards. Now, methods of reading the cards have changed over the years. The tarot deck as we know it was actually created during the Georgian age in the 1700s. Tarot actually was created as a game to play within your home with guests coming to visit. It was usually the wealthy that could afford to have cards because they were usually artist-drawn commissioned decks in order to have the cards created. And so not everyone had tarot decks. And it wasn't until the late 1700s that a Frenchman who was also a Freemason named Antoine Court de Gobelin, he found and realized that there were associations between the tarot symbolisms and Egyptian esoteric ways. He was also the first to start describing how to decipher the tarot cards for divination. Over the years and as the use of tarot expanded, it became more associated with the Kabbalah and the Hermetics mysticisms. It wasn't until around the Victorian age that tarot actually started becoming more popular. The divination became more common practice. This was around the time that you started seeing people in their parlor rooms giving tarot readings or tea leaf readings, or um, palm, re- palm readings became popular around that time as well. And over about the next 100 years, it was used in this fashion. Now, a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn and British occult author named Arthur Wyatt created the now popular Rider-Waite deck. That is the more commonly used tarot deck that you see nowadays, with the very recognized imagery. This is all the artistry from Pamela Colman Smith. This deck was originally published in 1909 for the first time. It was the original deck that was based on the divination practices of tarot that led up to. And since then, there have been so many versions of tarot that have emerged over the years. Now you can find tarot decks with all sorts of themes, artistry, different ways in which they're made. However, most tarot decks that have a tarot structure are still based on the Rider-Waite symbolisms and the Smith illustrations. I can give an example on how some decks are different, and if you're interested in this topic, look back at previous Tarot Talk live events. I have discussed the differences between different decks, as well as the differences between tarot decks and oracle decks in previous Tarot Talk discussions. So as I mentioned, the more popular original Rider-Waite Smith with Pamela Smith's artistry is this deck. I'll just quickly show some of the cards so that you can get a familiarity with the art and how they look. Now, as I said, this is the more popular deck. It's been around the longest. And then some creators have taken this format and made them slightly different. This is the Morgan Greer deck, and it uses similar imagery but puts it in a but has been redrawn to be more modernized. So you can see here they don't necessarily follow the exact imagery that Pamela Colman Smith created. However, they do follow all of the symbolisms and associations of Arthur Wyatt. And again, some decks have taken it to a whole new level, and added completely different associations. This is my Witch's Wisdom deck, which uses pagan associations as well as Wiccan symbology, done with very different artwork, very different style of deck. And so on. I have so many different decks. I could go through so many of them. Like I said, if you're interested in this, please look back at the previous Tarot Talk topic on the differences between decks. Now, I do see a question here. Does it make a difference in the reading? My ancestors were very popular at those times. I think what you're asking there, Annette, is if your ancestors were popular during the Victorian age, for example, when tarot was popular, or if your ancestors used tarot, perhaps. Absolutely, that could be meaningful for you to then study and use the tarot for yourself. I don't think it's going to necessarily make a difference within your readings as to the quality or the success of receiving messages. But I could definitely understand that being an influence or an encouragement for you to learn and be better at. Absolutely. If you use the energy of your ancestors, that's where it may make a difference in your readings. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying. I like that question as well. Does the different decks give different meanings? Absolutely, because I'm an intuitive reader, so I am following the symbolic meanings and symbolisms and associations from the original Rider-Waite structure. However, each deck is a little different, and what stands out to me for different decks can make a difference in the reading. An example of that would be, for example, this is also a tarot structure deck. It's my heart chakra deck. I use this quite often in readings to help those get a sense of what they need most from themselves, like from a heart chakra standpoint. And this deck, the imagery is mostly based on how it would be viewed from a heart chakra standpoint. So all of the cards in here are a little different. I'm trying to think of an example. I guess an example would be, if I can find the card. Now this deck tends to look at things a bit more, let me see. Yes, well, if you're familiar with the Tower card on a standard tarot deck, let me see if I can pull up the Tower card. Sorry, this is taking a moment. Here's the Tower card. Okay, so your standard tarot deck has the Tower card. And the Tower card often represents when something needs to be destroyed or changed. You can see here, you can see the structure of this tower sort of being crumbled by the lightning and the fire and people falling from it, and there's clouds and storms. And when you look at what the Tower card represents in the heart chakra deck, it talks about rebuild. It talks about after the destruction, what you need for yourself during this time. And this card is really all about rebuilding yourself. It had to be crumbled. When you crumble something, you usually have to rebuild a new foundation. This focuses on that part of the message. So it's less about the destructive aspect and more about the rebuilding aspect. And you can see here, the symbolisms are similar. You can see the lightning, right? You can see some of the destruction, some of the foundation being cracked and changed. And the person ends up being the tower instead of the foundation itself. So you can see here the same card, the same symbolisms, the same messages being played very differently from each other. So the way that I would read these cards are different. I would see this card as being more outlining the changes that need to happen and that they're required. And then this would be more personal, in-depth change of yourself, discovering a new you, perhaps. You can still get the same message from this card, but this is more highlighted. And it's highlighted in the theme of the deck because the deck is about personal needs. I hope that answered your question, Annette. And any other questions, please feel free to put them in. So how do you pick a deck? Usually you pick a deck that calls to you. If the artwork stands out for you, if the associations are meaningful to you, um, you want to go by how you feel when you're interacting with the deck. The more you associate with the deck, the more clear and more understood the messages are going to be. An example of that is my favorite deck is the Witch's Wisdom deck. I connect most with this deck because I do have a Wiccan background. I am pagan. And so the symbols and imagery in the cards just stand out for me. Where some people see a rite of passage, I see an initiation. And so that also plays a part in the way that I associate with the messages. So the decks aren't necessarily categorized. I would say that they're more themed. The different creators will create different themes for different decks using a very similar structure. Most tarot structure decks have the four suits, they have the court cards, they have the higher arcana cards separated from the lower arcana cards, and that whole tarot structure is intact and in place, even though the artist's association and depiction of the meaning of the card may be slightly different. How do you pick a question? These are great questions. Thank you so much for submitting them, everyone. How do you pick a question? I think what you're referring to, Lindsay, is when you do a reading, a self-reading, and you decide what your question is going to be to ask the cards to gain that insight and new perspective. It's really up to you. If you have more than one question, I often suggest to leave it general and see what comes up. Tarot cards will often bring out and draw out the messages that need to be heard most. And so leaving it general can often do that. You can see what messages you needed to hear most and which question you had that it associates with most. Thank you so much for those questions. If there's any other questions, please feel free to write it in the chat and I will try to get to it. If I missed anybody, just re-enter your question or try to let me know. I will go through the list that I have for my free readings. We'll get into that next. So far I have Elizabeth, Lindsay, Cynthia, Jeff, and Annette. I have one more place available if anyone's interested to receive a free reading on this call. Otherwise, we will get right into that. Thank you so much for the Tarot Talk discussion. Elizabeth, if you're available and on the call, let me know. And if you have a topic or question you'd like to focus on during your reading, I can do that. Or, like I said, we can leave it general and see what messages you needed to hear most for yourself. Now, I am a trans-dimensional tarot reader. That means that I look at one session through the dimensions of several decks. And so I always start my readings with a one-card impression pull from this deck, and that just lets me know where you're sitting at in the moment energetically. So something that's in your energy in the moment. And then I'll move to this deck, and that's when you'll have an opportunity to ask that question, give me that topic, or it can be left general. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for letting me know that you're here. Annette, can you refine your question a little bit? What do you mean by can they ask a question? Can the cards ask a question or the sitters? Usually the question is charged into the deck. So the intention is charged as you're shuffling. So right now I'm doing a one card impression pull for Elizabeth. I'm focusing on Elizabeth's energy and charging the cards with that intention. And I'm looking for a description of what I'm sensing from you, which is that energy in the moment. I feel like these cards are ready. And for you, Elizabeth, I get the Three of Swords. This is the way the card looks. It often represents a really hard communication to have. 3 in numerology is often about communication. Swords are about heavy thoughts and intellect. When we mix heavy thoughts with communication, it can be a really hard conversation to have. We're talking about something really heavy and hard on our minds. And it often is heartbreaking or heart wrenching or emotionally difficult kinds of conversations. And I see this in your energy in the moment. Just know, Elizabeth, that if this card was reversed, you'd be having difficulty having these hard conversations, or you'd be avoiding them altogether. So I think that these conversations are having had, and that you're getting through it in the right way. Let me know how that resonates. Now I'm just going to focus on your general reading now. I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we're just going to look at how they associate with each other to get your messages. Now, Elizabeth, I have Pentacles and a Higher Arcana. I'm going to work my way to that Higher Arcana. I just feel drawn to do that. I often feel drawn to the Higher Arcanas last because they are usually the theme or the more important message within a reading. This is the 6 of Pentacles. It did not come out reversed, and it's the first card I'm going to talk about for you, Elizabeth. The 6 of Pentacles is often about how we're viewed as being fair, as being like right or righteous. Excuse me. Or sometimes this can represent like being generous, being kind. If this card was reversed, it would be like viewed as not generous, not kind, not unfair. Just know that because it's come out this way, I think you're viewed as a very kind and generous person. I think you are being generous and kind in whatever this is about. The next card is the 4 of Pentacles reversed. And this card often represents... Sorry, I'm just noticing Diane there. Thank you so much, Diane. I have you as my final reading for today. You got onto my list just in time. And so just let you know that each reading is about 15 minutes, and so you'll have over an hour wait before it's your turn. So just keep that in mind, okay, Diana? So Elizabeth, for you, with the 4 of Pentacles reversed, it often represents having difficulty with structure or grounding in finances. The coins in particular are standing out for me, and so I do feel like this is about prosperity. When we're having difficulty finding grounding in our prosperity and we're being too generous, it could mean that that could be part of the balance that needs to be created. If you're thinking about others before yourself, for example. And the card that is beside that, now this is the Higher Arcana card and more important message out of this reading for Elizabeth, and it's the Fool card. It did not come out reversed, and this is the way it looks. And the Fool card, don't get me wrong, it's not saying you're the fool. It means that you know exactly what you're doing. You know how you feel, what you're thinking, how you're going through this. It's everyone around you that's looking at you like, what are they doing? Like everyone sees you as the fool, but you know exactly what you're doing. And that's often the message that comes out of that card. What's standing out for me in the card as well is the rose that's coming out of the Fool's hand. I really think that this is also a passionate topic for you. So this is something that you're passionate about, or something that you really have obviously given it a lot of thought. Let me know how this makes sense, Elizabeth. And I'm looking at how to extend into the reading further. I'm wondering if it would be helpful to look at things from my heart chakra deck. Given that this is seems to be about finding balance or grounding within yourself and the way that you're viewed, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to look at what you need for yourself out of this situation. Thank you for that message, Elizabeth, just letting me know that this makes sense. I appreciate that, knowing that I'm on track here. So I'm just charging the cards with that intention. I seem to have mixed up this deck a little. How did I do that? Put this back the way it's supposed to be here. Okay, okay, I'm going to recharge this deck. I think I'm going to clear it after that. Okay, let's charge the deck with the intention, bringing it back to your reading, just picking up the energies right from the beginning. This hard conversation to have, other people, the way they're viewing you, and this grounding and fairness that's happening. There seems to be this balance between that's needed between what you're giving away and what you're keeping for yourself. So again, a higher arcana, two suits. Really interesting this time is that you have a intellect, an air sign, and an emotional or water sign with a higher arcana. Again, I'm going to work my way to that higher arcana message. Two are reversed and one's not, and I feel like these reversals are bookending the proper cards. So I'm going to lead up to that. This is the one, clarity of belief. Again, this is like a sword or an air card. It's about heavy thoughts and intellect. And it, when it's reversed like this, it's really saying that you don't need clarity of belief. I think you just need to trust your own instincts. It's not really about believing something, it's about knowing. And so just know what you're doing. If you know and feels right for you, then it's for you. And that's really what this is reaching to. Number one in numerology is about our spiritual development. It's about when we guide ourselves somewhere. And what's really standing out for me is the expression that he's giving. He's got his hand on his heart and he's holding his hand out to kind of catch it, allow a butterfly to land. And that just speaks to opportunity. It's about you creating your own opportunity. The eight of emotion is often about when we find successful growth and development in ourselves. Eight in numerology is about success, reaching that goal. And the color around it is about the emotions that are involved. When we reach an emotional goal, it's usually meaningful for us in terms of personal development. And that's what this is saying, that this is about personal development. I think these two cards together are really saying that you need to believe in yourself a little more. And the next card is the detached card reversed. Now, 11 in numerology again breaks down to a 1, which is about finding ourselves or spiritual development. And the detached card, when it's reversed, it's basically saying not to detach. Don't let go of something. Don't detach yourself from whatever this is about. Again, because the Six of Pentacles have come out with the detached card, I think it just speaks to that reasonableness, that fairness, that empathy that you may have for others around you. And that's the support that you're giving out. You may be putting them first before your own needs. So just watch for that, okay, Elizabeth? What you don't want to do is help other people around you so much that it ends up affecting you negatively. You want to make sure that you create that balance, if that makes sense. Do you have any questions about how this has come out so far, Elizabeth? I'm wondering how I can extend a little further if you give me some insight or direction. Um, just looking at my decks, I do lay them all out in case they speak to me. I think I'm going to pull a card from my elemental deck. I don't know why, it's just speaking to me, and so I'm just going to go forward and follow that intuitive sense. I'm going to pull one card from this deck, and we're just going to look at a message that you need to hear. This elemental deck is usually pretty random in its messages. It does give insight and perspectives on what we need to hear, and it's usually based on our own self-developments. And so because that seems to be what the cards are suggesting for you that you need for yourself is self-development, or it's all involving self-development, or that your path has been evolving yourself developmentally, that I'm just going to ask this deck for some clarification. And you get the Animals card. What this often tells me is this is about companionship. Um, the message that you need to hear is about creating connections and creating companionship, not to feel alone in what you're doing. That would make sense to me given how the messages have come out here, especially if you're on this like different playing field than everyone else around you, perhaps if they're looking at you differently than what you feel for yourself. I think the best companionship, you're going to get the love and support out of that unconditional love from animals. If you have pets, you may find that they bring you support and structure or grounding in your emotions. And I think that it's that kind of connection that's going to help you most out of this. It's not necessarily about the what the people think or what you need for yourself. It's about, well, it is about what you need for yourself. I think that's what the point is. It's not about um, how everyone else treats you. It's about how you treat yourself, is what I'm trying to say, and how you provide for yourself. I do hope that this is helpful, Elizabeth. Oh, thank you for that message, that it absolutely makes sense. I appreciate that. Now, when I look at your reading as a whole, just as I finalize this reading here, I just want to point out that you have pentacles, you have equivalent of cups, you have equivalent of swords, but you have no wands showing. And I think it's just as important to highlight what does show up on the table as what doesn't, because what does show up on the table is the messages you needed to hear. You didn't need to hear messages about wands. That means that what this tells me is your actions are in check. You understand the actions that you're taking. Well, wands and tarot represent the actions that we need to take. And you don't need messages about your actions. I think you're taking the right action. What you need messages about are finances, about the emotions and the heavy thoughts that are involved in this. When I bring this right back to where you are now, I can see what these heavy conversations are about that need to have happen. I do hope that this reading was helpful, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. I'm going to put the cards away, and then I'm going to move on to Lindsay. Let me know that you're still available on the call, and if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on. Otherwise, I can just leave it general like I did. We'll just decharge the decks that I used. Thank you for that feedback, Elizabeth. Just letting me know that you think it's helpful. Lots of things to think about, for sure. You're very welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you. Thank you, Lindsay, for letting me know that you're there. So the order, hi Annette, I see you there. The order that I have for the readings tonight, I'm going to do Lindsay next, then Cynthia, then Jeff, then Annette, then Diane. So if you didn't hear your name but you requested a reading tonight, just let me know in case I missed the messages. Sometimes I've noticed when I'm reviewing the broadcast afterwards, when it gets posted on my website, I've noticed that some of the messages have like a 20 or 30-second delay on them, depending. I've noticed that I have missed messages before. They just didn't even show up on my end and during the broadcast, and so I always review to make sure I didn't miss anyone. If I missed your messages and you didn't receive a free reading and you were hopeful to get one, I will get back to you. I will see your missed message and try to get back to you. If you'd like, you can also get back to me and reach out to me letting me know that you requested a free reading or that you attended the live, and I'll be able to go back and see your attendance, and then I can offer you a free reading if you'd like. So Lindsay, this is for you. I'm going to start with a 1-card impression pull. I see that you want just a general reading, and so that's what I'm going to go by. 1-card impression pull is just 1 card that tells me where you're sitting energetically in the moment before I go into the reading. This is what I like to offer at markets and festivals for a free reading opportunity. If you come to me at my Stafford Tarot table at markets and events, And I'm between private sessions. I can offer you a free 1 card impression poll, just seeing where you're at energetically in the moment. I like to offer that just in case people have never received a tarot reading. They may not know what it's all about, or they may not know what it's like to get a reading from me. Lindsay, for you, I get the King of Wands. Kings in tarot are often the decision makers. It's about sitting in the throne and making the best decisions about your kingdom or your realm in your world. Keep in mind that kings' decisions usually have sacrifices involved. Wands in tarot represent the actions that we need to take. And so you're making decisions in terms of the actions that you need to take. These are usually important decisions, and again, sometimes these decisions from kings have sacrifices involved. So just keep that in mind, okay? And I'm just focusing now on your general reading. I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we'll just look at how they speak to each other to get that message. Thank you for that confirmation there, Lindsay, just letting me know that that makes sense and what's in your energy in the moment. Now, the cards that have come out are really interesting. There are 3 suits, 2 reversed and 1 not. You have a sword, a wand, and a cup. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. This is the 9 of Cups. It did not come out reversed. The 9 of Cups often describes a process of putting your cups in a row. It's about organizing the emotions and what you're feeling and what you're going through, and understanding what those emotions mean, understanding the origins. Where do they come from? Why do I feel this way? How would I feel if you organize your emotions in this way, as you know the tarot depicts and symbolizes as cups, then you are organizing your emotions, you're understanding yourself, you're doing what's known as shadow work. You're starting to understand the unknown parts of yourself, or the parts that you don't reveal to other people. Just know, Lindsay, that if this card was reversed, you would be struggling to put your cups in a row. This would be challenging. This would not be easy to understand your emotions, why you're feeling this way. So just know, because it came out this way, it means that you're going through this process. You're actually putting your cups in a row. You're somewhere along the lines of that process. I do get a sense, though, that you're completing this process. You're a little further ahead than what the card is depicting for me. I'm just getting this intuitive sense that this is more an accomplishment as opposed to a process to be developed. So I feel like you've went through this process of understanding your emotions. You've put your cups in a row, and your cups are almost like finished in the right order. Now, the next card that I'm going to focus on is the 6 of Wands reversed. It looks like this, and this often represents, as I mentioned, wands represent the actions that we take. And if you look at the card this way, you can see here that this person's actions are supported by the actions behind him, and he can feel proud of the actions he's taken because he's placed a wreath of championship on his wand, and these other wands are behind him, similar to like a parade. You know, he's on his high horse leading the way and everyone's celebrating him. He has something to celebrate. What this card tells me, Lindsay, is you have something to celebrate in the actions that you've taken. Now, with the card being reversed, it doesn't mean that you don't have something to celebrate. It means you still have something to celebrate. You may not be celebrating it. If it was this way, you'd understand what I'm talking about, and you'd be feeling proud, you'd be feeling successful, and you'd be celebrating these actions that you've taken. Because it's this way, you're not celebrating these actions. Because you have this card and the wreath is really standing out for me on this card, Lindsay, I think you can celebrate yourself. You need to take time to acknowledge the actions that you've taken that have gotten you this far or gotten you to this place. I think what the cards are really saying with these 2 cards being side by side, excuse me, dry throat, just a moment. Apologize. I start talking and I get into it and I just dry my throat right out. With these two cards speaking side by side, I think it's saying that you can feel proud of this process. You've worked hard at getting your emotions in check in the right order. You've done the work. Feel proud of the work that you've done that's gotten you here. And of course, you also have the Three of Swords, only this time it's reversed. What this is telling me is about, again, there are these hard communications to have. Three in numerology is about communication. Swords is heavy thoughts and intellect. This is heavy on your mind, hard communications to have. This is either having a challenge having these conversations, you're either held back from having these conversations, or you're avoiding these conversations. Okay, so the point of this card being reversed is that these conversations are not taking place when they should be. If you start having those conversations, this card's going to flip around and you're going to be in the process of having these conversations, these really hard emotional discussions. In the meantime, it looks like this. Given the other two cards that are with this card, I'm wondering if the communication needs to happen within you, Lindsay. I get the feeling, because these two cards are side by side, not having the communication and not celebrating the actions that you can feel proud of for yourself tells me that that could be the communication that needs to have. It could be a communication within yourself in terms of you need to celebrate yourself. If these two cards are side by side, it sometimes tells me about somebody who may not feel as confident about themselves as they should, or you have to have more encouragement about yourself. In order to do this, you have to have that talk with yourself. You do deserve to celebrate. That's going to flip this around. Then you're going to be celebrating those actions. In the meantime, it looks like this. I hope that that makes sense. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, I see you're sitting in this, making the decisions that you're going to take next. And on the table, we have this situation of, working things out for yourself on how you feel, needing to feel proud of the actions that you've taken, and maybe not be so hard on yourself in that regards. I think if you can get yourself in a better position of feeling proud of the actions that you've taken and have this internal conversation with yourself, this is going to make it easier to sit in the throne of the king and make these decisions moving forward. I'm wondering how it would be helpful to extend on these messages. Given that this seems to be in depth, it seems to be more about encouraging yourself. I'm wondering if it would be helpful to dig deep. I'm going to ask my Witch's Wisdom deck to bring out the messages that you need to hear from deep within. Given that you're in a place of having your cups in a row, I think you could handle the more harsh messages that may come out of this deck. So I'm just focusing on your reading right from the beginning and charging this deck with that intention. And I'm just asking this deck to give the internal messages that you need to hear that come from deep within. Now, one card is a court card and two suits, one fire, one earth. I'm going to work my way towards that court card. The Eight of Fire reversed. 8 is about finding the success or getting on the path to success, and fire are about the actions that we take. If the card was this way, the action that would be required for success would be like, wake up, see the sunset or see the sunrise, start to understand what you're seeing, look at the big picture. When it's reversed, I think what it's really saying is you're doing that. There's no need to, wake up and smell the coffee type of speak, the way that expression goes. I think you want to have an understanding of what's happening around you. And it may appear that you don't, but I think you do. I think you could go internal. I think you could figure out what this feels for you or what this means for you and then solve that dilemma. there's something about this in finding success, and you don't need to wake up to do it. I think you understand what you need to do. The 10 of Earth reversed. 10 in numerology breaks down to a 1, which is all about guiding ourselves in spiritual development. And Earth is about finding grounding and what we need for ourselves. Normally the card looks like this, and it represents how everything is connected. Everything is connected in the universe, and it's how we feed from those connections and how we establish those connections. When it looks like this, it means that either you don't need to make those connections, or you're not making those connections. Those connections are not being established. You're not connecting with the ways in which we're all connected to each other. And what this can often mean is that you could be doing this your own way, or you're looking at this from a certain point of view that may be different from the people around you. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Now, you're right, Lindsay. Thank you for pointing that out. They are all reversed in this. And what that tells me is that the message that comes from deep within is not going to be easy to draw out. That it's going to be, you're going to need to do the work to understand more about this, this process, this working through, knowing, having confidence in knowing what you're seeing and knowing how you feel. And it's not about the connections, it's really about you. I think what these cards are saying together is that you have to put in the confidence. You have to believe in yourself. It's not, you can't depend on all those other connections around you. It's really up to you on what you feel and what you need to do for yourself. And that brings me to the Witch of Fire reversed. The card looks like this. Normally, the Witch of Fire comes out like this, and it would represent taking that action. It would represent doing what you need to do for yourself, fulfilling your desire. Perhaps you're going to manifest what you need to do for yourself. What are the actions you need to fulfill? When it's reversed, it often means that there's a challenge in fulfilling those actions. That once you resolve that challenge, this card will flip around and you'll be in the position of the Witch of Fire, taking the initiative. Often this card represents change, and because it's reversed, I think it's really saying that you don't need to change yourself. I don't think you need to make internal change. And I can see that in the other messages, not depending on that, those connections around you, doing what is important to you and going by what's important to you. Don't wake up and smell the coffee. You understand what this is already about. And so there isn't this necessarily need to make changes. I do hope that this is helpful, Lindsay. When I bring this right back to where you are now, I can understand why you're sitting in the King of Thrones. This it just seems like you have a lot to decide, and it could be based on what these cards are trying to get across. Thank you for that confirmation, Lindsay, just letting me know that this makes a lot of sense. I'd like to extend just a little bit further. This feels like it's all about some sort of self-development, and that it's really important to you, whatever you're sitting in the King's position about. I would like to pull one card, and I'm just trying to narrow down which deck is speaking to me most. I'm going to use my Shaman deck. This deck really gives us these the messages that sort of need to be heard on an energetic level, how you can come to grounding and what you need for yourself on a shamanic energetic level. And so I'm just going to focus on this deck. I'm going to ask this deck for one card to describe the process in which you're going through here. And the card that you got is the lower world. Now, this card did come out reversed in the way that it landed on the table. I want to show you what the card looks like first before I bring it up as reversed. Now, the lower world is not necessarily about, you know, the depths of the world. It's not about the inner world. It's not about the afterlife. This is not hell. What this is really about is internal. Um, when you think about it in terms of the world tree, if you're familiar with pagan symbolisms, the upper world is spiritual. It's about the connections we make with energetic properties on a soul level. It's where you'll find the afterlife, connections with ancestors that have passed on. The lower world is about our instincts, our connections with the animal realm, with nature. That's where our direct descendants is with our ancestors. And so that's what it's really depicting here. When it's reversed, it's basically saying, this isn't about the connection with ancestors. It's not about what your ancestors would have done. It's not about the instincts that you're looking for. It's not about the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the human being connection. It's more about the ways in which you will do this. It's about separating yourself. It could be about breaking some sort of generational trauma, perhaps. But it's basically saying to don't be guided by that. I think you need to go into a new way, a new realm. This is about spiritual development. The card itself does look dark. You're right. I do see your comment there. And it's normally comes across that way because the lower world or the internal stuff, as I mentioned about shadow work, it's usually about the parts of ourselves that we don't reveal to others, which is why it's called the shadow. It's considered a dark reference because we don't bring it to light. I do hope that that makes sense for you, Lindsay. I think that there's a lot of internal work that needs to be done here, and that's why it's coming out this way. If you do that, the more internal work that you do and how this affects you, the ways in which you feel about what's happening for you, the more clearer you're going to be able to make those decisions in the King's Throne. I do hope that this was helpful for you, Lindsay. Let me know if you have any last questions. As I look at this reading as a whole, I see Earth, which is similar to Pentacles. I see Fire, which is similar to Wands. I see Cups. I see Swords. I see all aspects of the elements. And what that tells me, Lindsay, is that this is seeping into the different aspects of your life. It's not compartmentalized into one thing. This is really starting to affect different areas of your life. Thank you for that confirmation that everything has made a lot of sense. Thank you so much for that feedback, Lindsay. I really appreciate it. If you see things from the cards, please follow that. Follow your own intuitive sense within my reading. I absolutely don't mind others reading the cards or getting their own messages from these sessions. In fact, I encourage it, which is why I like to show the cards and why I like to do video readings at least when I do distant remote. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming and letting me do your reading for you. I'm just going to decharge, cleanse, and put the decks away. And then I'm going to move on to Cynthia. Cynthia, if you're still available on the call, let me know that you're there. And if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or we can leave it general. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for letting me know that you're there. I'll be with you in just a moment, just clearing the decks. Let me know if you have a question or topic you'd like me to focus on. Otherwise, I'll just leave it general. General's good. I see your message there. Perfect. We'll just do general. I like general readings just because they usually will highlight what you need to hear most. But I usually leave it up to each sitter, if they want to try and refine what they're looking for from the reading session itself. Okay, Cynthia. I'm just clearing this last deck, and then I'm going to start with a 1-card impression pull from this deck. That's going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. So I'm just charging the deck now with your energy. I'm asking the deck to give me an impression of what I'm picking up. Now, Cynthia, one thing that I notice is as I'm charging the deck with intention and it's with your energy, the cards are kind of hitting each other. They don't really want to go together as smoothly. And quite often that can be a sign for me that the person I'm reading for is against their own energy in some way or another. So against your own flow, perhaps you're your worst enemy in some way in this. And so just keep that in mind as we go through this reading, okay? For you, Cynthia, I get the Page of Wands reversed. Wands in tarot, as I mentioned, are representing the actions that need to be taken. And pages are when we get the ball rolling, we get into that direction, or we get onto that new path. When it's reversed, it means that you're not getting onto that new path in terms of the actions that you need to take. There could be new actions that you need to discover and develop, but you're not there yet. There's something needed, some challenge perhaps needs to be resolved first, and when you resolve that challenge, this card will flip around and you'll be able to take that direction in terms of the actions that you need. But in the meantime, it looks like this. You may be feeling held back in some way or struggling with something that you're pursuing or an action that you're taking moving forward. Just know that once you figure out that challenge, that you're going to propel forward taking that action. Now, I'm just focusing on a general reading. I'm charging the cards with that intention. I'm going to pull 3 cards. We're just going to look at how those cards speak to each other to gain your messages. Feel like we're ready here. So 3 cards have come out, 1 high arcana and 2 high arcana, and a suit. The suit is the sword, 2 of swords reversed. I'm going to start there. This is what the card looks like, reversed. Normally the card looks like this, and it's about making a choice. 2 in numerology is finding our place in the universe, and the swords are about heavy thoughts and intellect. When we have to make a choice or find our place using heavy thoughts and intellect, it usually comes down to a choice or a decision. This sometimes can represent partnership, but I'm getting more it's about a choice in my intuition, so I'm following that. When it's reversed, it's about not being able to make that choice. It's about possibly being overwhelmed by the options, or you just don't have all the information that you need in order to make the choice. What's standing out for me a lot in this card, that the way that it's come out, is the blindfold. Blindfolds are usually blinding. When we remove the blindfold, we gain a little more information that's going to help you make that choice. So I think once you receive that information that you need, this card's going to flip around and you're going to be in the position to make the choice. But in the meantime, it looks like this. Now, the 2 cards that have come out are really interesting. We have the Empress card non-reversed, and we have the Wheel of Fortune card reversed. What this often represents is not having to wait for that reward. I think that when the card normally looks like this, it's about waiting, patience, putting in the time in order to receive the reward eventually. When it's reversed, it means that you may have already put in that work and time, Cynthia. So there's this something about this that's coming to a closure. I don't know if it's leading towards some sort of financial reward or what the reward looks like, but usually this is the Wheel of Fortune. So it's a fortunate thing. It is not bad luck. There's good luck coming your way, and the wait is over. You just have to go through that process. You could be at the end of the wait. Okay. And this card is often about responsibility. Sitting in the throne of the Empress, being responsible as the Empress does, making those decisions, running a reign of some kind. That's about sitting in that throne. When these two cards are sitting side by side, it's often about needing to sit in the throne about something that's happening now. So it could be a situation involving around you that you're just now having to take on that responsibility. When I bring this reading right back to where you are now, not being able to get into the direction, I feel like that it has to do with this choice. Once you receive that missing information and you make that choice, that may help you. Both of these cards are going to flip around, and you're not only going to decide, you're going to be taking that action and getting into that direction that you need to be. But in the meantime, it looks like this. Can you resonate with these messages, Cynthia? Do you know what this is referring to? I would like to extend further. I'm wondering how we should do that. It does seem like a situation that you're having to take responsibility for, sitting in the Empress. The Empress responsibility is often affecting other people around us. So how we interact with those around you would be what I'm referring to. Yes, okay, thank you for that, Cynthia. Just lets me know that I'm on the right track. This is about balance and a decision that needs to be made. I'm wondering if it would be helpful to use my pagan deck. My pagan deck gives great symbolisms in terms of the balances that are created in life. The deck itself uses associations that compare ritual life with modern day life, such as like spiritual development versus like um, employment or career, as an example. And what I'd like to do is use this deck to look at the balance that's required in what's happening here. Given that there's a lot of responsibility involved and there's these choices that you're not able to make yet, I'm wondering if this deck will give us some insight moving forward. If I ask this deck to describe the balance that's required, it may give us that insight. I hope that makes sense. I'm just charging the deck with that intention. And when I intuitively feel like I should stop, such as now, that's when the deck's ready. Just going to cut the deck 3 times because that's my way. And the 3 cards that have come out are interesting. We have Wands, Wands, and Cups. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. I'm not drawn to any card particularly. I do feel like they are delivering messages not necessarily connected to each other. So more than one message that you need to receive here, Cynthia, in terms of the balance that's needed for you to create in this. This is the Novice of Cups. This is the way the card looks. Cups in numerology cups in tarot represent emotions being felt and emotional processes that you're going through. The Novice is a court card that often is compared to like a page. It's usually the beginning of something. And when it's the Novice of Cups, it's about realizing some new emotion that you're going through. You're realizing some new emotion. In the way that the card has come out, it did not come out reversed. And what's really standing out for me is the way that this person is grasping the cup with confidence. They're looking into the cup almost like they're gaining some divinatory sense from this. And for you, Cynthia, the way that that stands out is this is a confident feeling. This is like discovering a new feeling of strength, perhaps, or confidence, or just it could be about discovering a new skill or realizing a new talent, but it's emotional, and it's about realizing this emotional strength, talent, or whatever it is for you. You also have the Elder of Wands. So in terms of the actions that are needed, you're experienced in this. You can relate to what is needed to have happen in this situation. Even though you're the Novice of Cups, it doesn't mean you don't understand the emotions or that you're the beginner in this. Absolutely not. What it means is that you're going through something new. You're realizing a new emotion in this, and it has to do with the actions that you've already been through. You are the Elder of Wands in this reading, which means that you have the experience from the actions. You can learn from the actions you've taken in the past in regards to this moving forward. You can also take brand new action, and that's the Ace of Wands. That's what I want to talk about next. Because these two cards are side by side, I think your experience is going to help you take new action. You're going to be able to take action that's different from what you've done previously in regards to this situation. Perhaps something of this regard has happened before and you have experience in this, and now you can learn from that experience and deal with it differently. Take new action. You're going to discover new action. That's what the Ace of Wands represents. None of these cards came out reversed. I feel like these are very positive messages to receive. This deck can be harsher than this. And so I think that this speaks well for you, Cynthia. I think you're on the right track. You're creating a balance in this, obviously. The cards are not suggesting a balance is needed. It's really describing, for me, from my perspective, it's describing the balance that already exists. And I can see that because of the Novice of Cups, the Elder of Wands, and the Ace of Wands. You just need to decide what actions you need to take next based on the experience you've already been through, and allow yourself to feel this new emotion and discover it and be confident in it. I do hope that this was helpful, Cynthia. I'm wondering how I can extend just one more time. This is my Sacred Destiny deck, and it gives great insight in terms of the portion of life path that someone's walking. I'm going to focus that on this reading. Given that there just seems to be a lot of development happening here, the responsibility of the Empress, you're coming through the end of some sort of process, and you need to make the decisions. If you could just gain that little bit more knowledge that you need. And in terms of finding this balance, I'm just wondering, it seems to be such a personal developmental trek that you're on. I would like to just pull one card from this deck to see the portion of life path that this involves. That may give you a good sense as to why this is happening. I'm going to pull two cards. I just feel drawn to it. I don't know why. My plan was only to pull one card, but I just feel drawn to these two cards. One reversed and one not. And this is really interesting. These cards are in conflict with each other. And so maybe you'll be able to make sense of this as I give the meanings. I'm going to show you the way the cards have come out here. Sometimes these pictures are meaningful to the person I'm reading for. There we go. So I'm just going to show you the cards, and then you let me know how they stand out for you, if there's anything in the imagery that stands out for you. I'm going to go in order that they came out. The first one is about power. This is the power card. And it's often represented by, the lightning, the most, one of the most powerful forces on our planet. And it's really about finding that power. What's standing out for me, though, are the trees at the very bottom. And again, that just speaks to like the growth and development and reaching this power. Because the trees are growing towards the sky in the bottom, I just feel like they're reaching for the sky, like you're reaching for this power. Now, the abundance card is the flowery card. Normally, the card looks like this. And it represents abundance. It represents the abundance of flowers in a field. If you look at that as symbolic or to an association, when it's reversed, it's not representing that you don't have that abundance, but that this isn't about abundance. It's not about the amount of stuff you have in your world. It's not about the number of things, whatever this is about. It's really about the experience of, or understanding of. It's not about having. When I look at these two cards together, it's really interesting. I think that what message is coming out of this is, if you simplify, that would be stronger. And there seems to be a conflict in that message, because if we simplify, you'd think it would be weaker, but it's not. I really get the sense that not having abundance is going to bring you into your power. I hope that that makes sense. given what's happening here for you, Cynthia. Um, when I look at this reading as a whole, I see wands, I see swords, I see cups, wands again, two higher arcanas, no pentacles. And I think it's just as important to look at what doesn't show up as what does. Pentacles represent the needs. It usually is an aspect of health or finances, because generally for life, that's what we need most. And there are none here. I don't think you need to hear messages about your needs, what you need for yourself. You understand what you need for yourself. And I think that's what this is really about here. Not receiving any pentacles. The messages you need to hear are about the actions you're taking, the emotions you're going through, and what's on your mind. When I bring this right back to where you are sitting now energetically in the moment, with the Page of Wands not being able to go forth with some sort of action, I have a feeling this card is flippable, in the sense that if you gain more information and are able to make a decision, this card will flip around. You'll make that decision, and that will help you decide what action to move forward. This card will flip around as well. But in the meantime, they look like this. I hope that this was helpful, Cynthia. Let me know any feedback, or if you have any other questions. I'm going to move on to Jeff. Jeff, if you're available and still on the call, let me know that you're there, and if you have a question or topic you'd like me to focus on for your reading. Cynthia, I'll just put these cards away. I'm just waiting to see if there is any messages that come up first. It all makes sense. Thank you so much. Thank you for that message, Cynthia. I really appreciate that confirmation. I do hope that this was all very helpful for you. It does seem like quite the journey to be on, but it does lead somewhere. It does seem to lead somewhere very well for you, as long as you take that journey. So I'm going to put these cards away and charge the cards, or clear the cards to be charged. And then Jeff, thank you, Jeff, for letting me know you're there and general works for you. Perfect. I can do that. I'm just going to clear the rest of these cards. And then just to go through the list, after I do Jeff's reading, I'll move to Annette, and then I will do a reading for Diane. Each reading is 15 minutes roughly, and so Diane, you still have about a half an hour before I'll get to your reading, just to let you know. Okay, Jeff, this is for you. I'm going to start with a one card impression pull from this deck, and that's going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck, where I'll focus on that general reading that you've requested. Now I'm just focusing on your energy, Jeff, and charging the cards with that intention. Jeff, for you, I get the Sun card. This is a higher arcana card, which represents the more important messages in the deck. And the Sun card is often about a process of healing that's taking place. You can see here the vulnerability of the main character in the card, that, it's all about taking the risk, putting yourself on the edge or on the line, and finding the healing, putting in the effort for the healing that needs to take place. This often represents a process of healing in some way. If the card came out reversed like this, it would mean that you're not going through this healing, or that this healing is a very challenging and struggle. So just know that you are going through this healing process. You are working on the healing. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for your message. Unfortunately, I've reached my cap of 6 free readings for tonight. But if you'd like, I can include you into the draw that's happening on Monday, June 18th. I choose a 1 in 5 chance for winners to receive a free remote reading over Zoom if you're interested. Let me know, and I'll include you in that list if you'd like. This is a general reading for Jeff. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for joining me on my live. It's nice to see you. So 3 cards have come out, Jeff, and they are all suits. The sword, a wand, and a cup. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. The King of Cups reversed. Cups in tarot, as I've mentioned, represent emotion. And kings are usually when we have to make a decision in terms of that. So making a decision in terms of emotion. When kings are reversed, it often means that you're struggling to sit in this throne. There's something that needs to be done first, or a conflict that needs to be resolved, or information that has to be collected first. Once you receive that missing information or resolve that conflict, this card's going to flip around and you're going to be able to sit in the throne of the king. The king of cups is about making emotional decisions that affect the people around you, and there's usually sacrifices involved. So just keep that in mind. When the card looks like this, it means that you're not yet sitting in that throne, that there's something needed first before you sit in that throne. The Three of Wands is the next card. The 3 in numerology is often about communication. Wands are representing the actions that we take for ourselves. You can see here this person is communicating with themselves to determine which wand to choose. They've selected a rod. They've put one in front of them. They've put one behind them, as if it's not even an option anymore. They're letting it go. And that's the process that seems to be here. It's about choosing and selecting the actions that you take moving forward. What serves you, what doesn't. Then we have the Queen of Swords. Now, queens are similar to kings, except queens are more nurturing and caring for the people around you. And swords are heavy thoughts and intellect. Quite often, when queens make heavy thoughts and intellect in their decisions, it can be a harsh decision to make. This would be often referred to in playing cards as the Queen of Spades. They can be harsh, they can be to the point, and very stern in their decisions. I think you want to be careful with a Queen of Swords non-reversed and a King of Cups reversed. It means that you may need to work out the emotions that are involved in order to make this hard decision that needs to be made. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for your message. I have reached my cap for the free readings tonight, but if you'd like, I can include you in the free draw that's happening. Just let me know and I'll include you in. Just go back through the messages and make sure I haven't missed anybody. Just a moment, make sure. Okay. I'm going to extend on this reading further for you, Jeff. I feel like this is based on something pretty heavy that you're going through, or really giving it a lot of thought, and it's affecting you emotionally, and having to decide what serves you and what doesn't to know what actions to take next. I have a feeling that this process has to do with the healing that's involved in this. I'm going to look at this from my heart chakra deck in terms of what you need for yourself, just because this seems to be quite personal. And so I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we're just going to look at the messages in terms of what you need for yourself from a heart chakra perspective. And then I may also extend further using my Zen deck to look at the interactions that may be happening for you, or some advice on how to interact with the energies around you given these decisions that need to be made. One higher arcana card and two suits have come out. I find that interesting because of the specific higher arcana card that has come out. I'm going to work my way to that card. It's a very important message. The first card that comes out is the Seven of Fire. And the Seven of Fire, seven in numerology, is about spiritual development moving forward. It's about finding our place as a spiritual being, spiritual development in finding that success. And the fire is telling me that this is about actions. When we take actions in terms of spirituality, it's often about what we need for ourselves and involving synchronistic messages. And that's the message I'm getting from this: awaiting results. I feel like there's something about this that you're waiting for, almost like the answer is going to be handed to you somehow. It's saying that you can go through that process. You can await the results. You may have already put in the work and you're waiting the results of that. This is not about changing your focus. That's what this card represents when it turns this way. It's about changing your focus. 5 in numerology is often about a halfway point. It's a decision that needs to be made. When we think about 5 in terms of a journey from 0 to 10, when you're at 5, you have just as much distance to get from 5 to 10 as you do from turning around and going from 5 to 0 back to the start. So it's just as much effort to reach your goal as it is to start over. And so you have to decide, what do I do? Do I go through the effort and reach the goal, or do I start over? It's about making that decision. And when it's reversed, it's basically saying don't decide to change your focus. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way you're viewing this, and that's what this is about. The color around the card tells me that this is equivalent to a pentacle. It's an earth card, which means that this is about needs and what you need for yourself. You don't need to change your focus. That's what the card is saying. Now, the last card I want to focus on in this draw is the number 1, a higher arcana, the Manifest card. Given the message from this card, the 7 of Fire, awaiting results, I think this is really interesting. I think maybe you could manifest your own results. Perhaps you have some experience in spell work or divination or manifestation that you could implement to help you in this situation. Interestingly enough, it's really saying what you need for yourself is to look at this in terms of spiritual empowerment. The Manifest card has come up, meaning that you have the power, you have the ability. It's within your, it's within your ability to make happen. I'm now going to switch to my Zen deck. I think that this might be helpful in looking at how to interact with the energies around you, given what's happening here. So I'm just focusing on the energies of the reading so far. Jeff, let me know how this reading has gone so far, and if you have any questions, if this is all making sense. Very interesting cards have come out here. The 10 of Harmony, or the Harmony card, this is 10 of Emotion. What this often represents is connecting with your intuition, understanding, coming to harmony with yourself so that you can collect those messages. Quite often, this card comes over someone who needs to quiet their mind in order to receive those messages. These are messages of communication. This is standing out like spiritual communication almost. Like you may have energies around you that are trying to influence or guide you, and you just need to listen to them and pick up those messages to hear them. Again, 3 of Earth. This is about guidance. These cards speaking side by side is really crucial, and are bookended on this reading, which is really crucial because it's about opening up your intuition to receive the communication and that you have spiritual guidance around you. 3 in numerology is often about communication. Again, this is an earth card, so it's about communicating your own needs for yourself. Often we get that from external energies around us, the guidance of ancestors and loved ones. The last card I want to point to is the Higher Arcana card. This is the more important message, and it's the Past Lives card. You may have an experience in your life now that you can't quite understand or understand the origins of, and which means it may have come from a past life. In terms of this reading, Jeff, what I see happening here is that this guidance could be coming from someone from a past life, or you're connecting with past lives and receiving guidance from that. Let me know how you resonate with those messages. When I bring this reading right back to where you are, this healing that's happening, this fundamental healing, just tells me that based on the cards that have shown up here, this is a spiritual developmental process that you're going through that is going to bring you such healing. When I look at this reading as a whole, I see swords, cups, wands, pentacles. This is affecting every area of your life. It's not just compartmentalized into one. And what I also want to point out is that you have two Higher Arcana cards not reversed, and again, that just speaks to finding your place in the universe where you fit. I think you seem to be a very capable person. I think that you could probably put in the work to manifest this yourself. Thank you for that confirmation, Jeff, that this all totally makes sense. You're very welcome. I do hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions on the way that these cards have come up. I'm going to just start to decharge and put them away and move on to the next person. Annette, if you're available, let me know. I do see your messages coming up there. You are next. I will work on your reading in a moment. Jeff, any questions about what's come up here? Thank you for letting me do your reading for you. I'll just start decharging and putting away the cards. Oh, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate knowing that this was very helpful for you. Okay, Annette, let me know if you have a specific question you'd like me to focus on for your reading, or if you want to leave it general and see what message you need to come up most. I have seen some of your messages come up, and you may have quite a few questions to ask. And so I often recommend that if someone has more than one question that they want to focus on, just to leave it general, because the messages that you need to hear are what are going to show up most. But again, it's up to you if you want to try and refine what you're looking for from the reading session itself. So let me know your choice, Annette, if you'd like to do a general reading or if you have a specific topic or question. I'm going to start with this deck for a 1-card impression pull. Just read. Okay, perfect. I'll leave it general and we'll just see what comes up. So I'm just focusing on your energy and charging the cards with that intention so that I can get an impression of where you're at energetically. And the card that I get for you, Annette, is the Strength card. This card often comes out for someone who has an inner strength in themselves. This is not physical strength. You can see here that this person does not have the lion in a headlock. They are using their internal strength to tame the lion. And what this represents is the amount of strength that's in you. If this card was reversed, that strength would be there, but you wouldn't realize how strong you are. So just know, Annette, that you know how strong you are. You have an ability and understanding of this strength. Okay? And that's what the card is really saying. So Annette, is that the question you want me to focus on? Is your time short? Or do you want to leave it general? Could you just clarify that for me? And then I'll focus on that intention. Just let me know. If you've already answered and I haven't seen it yet, I apologize. Sometimes there is a delay in the way that the messages show up for me compared to when you've entered it into the chat. General. Okay, I'll do this general. Perfect. Thank you for clarifying. just charging the cards with that intention. I'll pull 3 cards and we'll just look at how those cards interact with each other to get those messages. Now, the 3 cards that have come out are interesting. They are all suits, different suits from each other: a sword, a cup, a pentacle. I'm just going to go in that order. I just feel drawn to doing that. This is the Ace of Swords. It did not come out reversed, and it often represents a new way of thinking. A new idea perhaps has come to mind, or there's a new approach to something, or a new way of thinking that has evolved or been discovered, and you're now realizing this new way to think. If it was reversed, it would mean that you've missed some sort of new way of thinking, or you didn't change your mindset. So this is really about changing your mindset. It's about finding that new way of thinking, okay? The Page of Cups reversed often represents somebody who needs to start looking at things a bit more seriously. When the Page of Cups comes out this way, it's often about immaturity, silliness, and what's standing out for me is the way the fish is standing out, coming out of the main cup there. That's where the silliness and the immaturity is coming through in the card. And when it's reversed, it's the opposite of that. It's like, okay, no longer fooling around. Let's get to task. Let's start taking this seriously. And that is the message that's coming out of this card. With this realization of new mindset or a new thought process, and then having to take this seriously, these cards may have flipped where you received some new information and that meant that you had to then take it seriously. This is the Eight of Pentacles, is the next card I want to focus on. The Eight of Pentacles is often about putting in the hard work. 8 is about when we reach success, and the path to success. And Pentacles are our needs, either finances or health. I do get a sense that this is health related, because what's standing out for me is his arm and the muscle in his arm. And so it's more about health than finances, and it's about putting in the work. It's about doing what you need for yourself in the moment. When we put in the work in terms of health, it can often mean following the advice of a doctor, or following that medical stance, or doing the things that you need to do for yourself to make sure that you're on the right track. I'm wondering how I can extend on this reading further. Given the messages that have come out here, it seems like this new idea or new mindset has come to mind that's really made things sort of turn around and be serious, and then having to do the work in the moment. I'm wondering if I can look at this from, again, my heart chakra standpoint. My heart chakra deck gives great advice in terms of what we need for ourselves from our heart chakra standpoint. And so I think I could look at what you need for yourself moving forward in terms of what's happening here. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we're just going to look at how those cards speak to each other to get that message. So 3 cards have come out, 2 reversed, 1 not. The 2 reversals are earth cards, and the one that's not is an emotional card. I'm going to end there and talk about these 2 needs. This is the 5 of earth, and it often represents changing your focus. When it's reversed, it's saying don't change your focus. Keep your focus the way it is. There's no need to change your focus. There's nothing wrong with the focus that you have, and that's what this is saying. Now, the other card that is standing out for me is Love Abounds. And when that card is reversed, it often represents loving yourself, not necessarily from the people around you. It's about creating an affection for yourself. 1 in numerology is about that spiritual development. 5 in numerology, again, I talked about that, like making a decision in terms of where you're headed. When we do with these 2 cards speaking together, I think you really need to decide for yourself what you need and how you should view your focus, and the love that you have for yourself. I think that's one of the first things that need to flip around. When this card flips around, we end up loving ourselves and we can connect with the people around us easier. The last card that I want to focus on in this pull is the number 1 of emotion. This is like a water sign, and it's about new vitality. It's about finding a new vitality. It's about realizing what you have about yourself and then realizing something new about yourself, or realizing this extra quality about yourself. It uses the depiction of music, somebody who just picks up this pipe, this windpipe, and starts playing it, and they play beautiful music out of it unexpectedly. They find a new vitality within themselves, and that's what the card is standing out for me. It's about you finding the vitality within you. Now, when I bring this reading to where you are now, what stands out for me is the strength card being in the position that it is. You have the strength to do this and to find the vitality and to love yourself and to not change your focus. I think that's the important messages that are coming out of this. When I look at how that refers to your reading with this strong new stance or idea, having to take this seriously and putting in the work. I think you have the strength to do it. You can put in the work to make this, um, to do that. Now, I'm wondering how I can extend on this one more time. Um, this seems to be that whatever this new idea is, it seems important. I also feel like I'm stuck between different decks. I'm trying to narrow down which one is going to be the most helpful. I think I'm going to look at past experiences in terms of what you're going through here. This is my past experience deck. It is an intuitive reading deck, and I'm just going to use this deck to focus on the past experiences that are important for you to focus on now. I have a feeling that that might be helpful moving forward if you can look at what experience you've been through that may be helpful, that's going to help you through this. Now, the three cards that have come out are interesting. I'm going to just go in the order that they came out, okay? This is the Celtic card. 73 in numerology breaks down to a 10, which breaks down to a 1. And it's really about spiritual development and finding your own spiritual development. And the Celtic card often comes out for someone who could reach out to what they see as their own source. What do you connect with? Do you connect with nature? Do you connect with God? Do you have a god and goddess or deities, or the universe perhaps? What is your source? There is no wrong answer, and it's about connecting yourself to what your beliefs are. And the Celtic crux, the Celtic cross, is often about protecting our beliefs. I like to call this the messenger card. 24 in numerology breaks down to a 6, and it's all about interacting with the people around us and interacting with the energies around us. And the messenger card is often about when we pick up those messages. There could be messages happening around you that you could pick up on if you pay more attention to. And these messages would be coming from the energies around you. This can also be a card for like the Akashic records. When we have a connection with the Akashic records, if you have a sense of spirituality in that regards, that may also be significant for you. The Akashic records are usually like when we connect to mankind or humankind as a whole. We can access a lot of information from that whole connectedness. I think that there are messages or information that are for you that you could connect with that would be helpful for you. If you connect with, if you resonate or associate with the spiritual messages, a message out of this card, just watch for those synchronicities. What I'm referring to is like when you when that loved one enters your mind and then their song plays on the radio in that moment, don't brush it off as coincidence. Look at the, what is the message, what is the relevance of that happening now in this moment, and you may find that there's messages for you in that. Now the next card I want to focus on is, I like to call the stance card. It's about taking a stance. It's about possibly rejecting a stance, or if you think about like raising an issue, standing for your ground or what you believe in yourself. 22 in numerology breaks down to a 4, and this is all about grounding and finding grounding for ourselves. The 22 stands out for me though as a master number in numerology. And what this means is that the card is basically trying to depict the spiritual development in yourself, the choices that you're making for yourself, and that the growth that's involved based on the choices that you're making. You may be taking a stance in some way. You may be being stubborn and holding your ground of some kind in terms of your beliefs. I do hope that this is helpful, Annette. Let me know if you have any final questions, or if there's anything here that didn't quite fit. I do hope that this reading was helpful. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to move on to Diane. Diane, if you're still on the call, let me know. And if you have a question or topic you'd like me to focus on for your reading, I can do that, or we can leave it general, which seems to be the popular option tonight. You're very welcome, Annette. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you. I'm going to just put the cards away and clear the energies. And Diane, if you're still on the call, let me know. Hopefully there isn't too much of a delay in the messages from when I receive them. If you've already entered your response and I'm looking bewildered, I apologize. I'll see them in a moment. Oh, thank you for that feedback, Annette. It's like I answered the questions in your head as you spoke. I appreciate that. I think what that says is that I was connected, that we were connected in our energies, and that I was able to give an accurate reading for you. Sometimes the connection can be weaker or stronger depending on how open someone is to be read. So I really appreciate your openness to be read tonight. Thank you, Diane. I do see you there. And General, absolutely. I will focus on that. I see your message come up there. Thank you, Annette, for letting me know. Sometimes it just takes a while for the message to appear on my end. So Diane, I'm going to start with a 1-card impression pull from this deck, and that's just going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck, where you'll have an opportunity to get that general reading. Now, Diane, for you, I got the King of Cups reversed. The card looks like this. We talked about this in this position before, where the King of Cups is about sitting in the throne of the king to make emotional decisions. These decisions affect the people around you, and there are sacrifices involved usually. When the King of Cups is reversed, it can often mean that you're having trouble sitting in this throne, that you're not able to make the emotional decisions that are needed. What's standing out for me though is the crown on the king, the headdress. And so I feel like you have the right mindset. It's just a matter of maybe your emotions are getting in the way of stopping you from making this decision. Just know that once you figure out what is getting in the way or stopping you, when you figure that out or resolve it, this card will flip around and you'll be sitting in the king's throne to make those emotional decisions. But in the meantime, it looks like this. Let me know your thoughts on that, Diane. I'm just going to start with your general reading. I'm going to charge your intention into this deck, and we're going to pull 3 cards and just look at how those cards speak to each other to get those messages. Higher Arcana, 2 suits. The suits are wands, one's reversed and one's not. The first wand I'm going to talk about is the King of Wands or King of Rods. It did not come out reversed. This is the one that came out upright. Kings sit in thrones and make decisions in the best interest of their kingdom, and often there are sacrifices involved, and these are decisions that are based on the actions that you're taking moving forward. You're sitting in the throne to make decisions about the actions moving forward. Interestingly enough, the reading is about sitting to make these decisions, and yet you're unable to make decisions based on emotion. Because this is upright, it could be the actions that you need to take that you're trying to decide. The Six of Wands reversed. What this often means is somebody who has something to celebrate for themselves in the actions that you're taking, but you're not celebrating it for yourself. So, Diane, there could be something that you should feel proud of that you don't necessarily feel proud of. I would look back at the actions that you've taken and see if there's anything that you should celebrate. There could be something for you that could be important for you to connect with in the actions that you've already taken. And that brings me to the Hierophant card. This card is often about doing it the right way or doing things in the way that it's expected of you. You can see here the Hierophant card is, it often represents that. It's about following a systematic approach. If this card was reversed, Diane, it would mean that you're not following that systematic approach. You're doing this your own way instead of what's expected of you. So just know that you're doing this in the way that is expected. You're following the systematic approach that you need to take. Now, I'm wondering how to extend on this reading further. Given the contradiction with the kings here, that, you have one king reversed, one king not reversed. The King of Cups is where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and the King of Wands is about whatever the topic or question is that's on the table. Unable to make this emotional decision moving forward, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to look at some of the emotions involved. And I'm going to do this from an activator sense. This is my triggers deck, and it looks at emotions that activate us. Now, the deck it's an intuitive readings deck, and it's designed to invoke emotions, to bring them out to the surface. I'm going to use this deck to try and invoke the emotions that are involved in this subject. We're just going to look at what these triggers are. In understanding the emotional triggers may help further understand, the conflicts or why you're feeling a certain way or what's happening for you. So really interesting cards. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. I feel like I'm drawn to different messages here, and they may not be speaking fully together on this. But kind of. These two are kind of speaking together, and this one's kind of a message on its own. So I'll talk about that. This is 71. 71 in numerology breaks down to an 8, and that's all about finding the success or successful path. And this card is representing having to be able to see clearly where you're headed, using your intuitive sense to see where you're headed, understanding the clarity of what you have to do for yourself. Where does this path lead you further? What this tells me is that could be an emotional trigger for you. It's emotional for you not to understand where you're headed. It can be activating for you if you don't see that clear path and where you're going. It could be anxiety provoking if you have to walk a path not necessarily knowing where it leads. This is the next card I want to focus on. 53 in numerology, again, breaks down to another 8, which represents, you know, is finding the success or taking the path that leads to success. with these two cards side by side, I do feel like they're speaking together, not just because they're both eights in numerology, but the messages are sort of side by side and coinciding with each other. For example, if it's a trigger for you to have to be able to understand and see where you're headed, it's going to be a trigger for you to not be able to see what's happening around you, and that's what this card represents. It's, you know, there's only a specific light being shown, and it's cloudy and foggy around, and lots of darkness around you. What this represents is just the unknowns, and the unknowns that are happening around you that create an uncomfort for you. It makes sense to me that if unknowns bother you in terms of not knowing all the information that you need, then it would make sense why it would bother you to not see the clear path ahead. Now, this is a different kind of message that I feel like is on its own. 18 in numerology breaks down to a 9, and 9 is about reaching that end goal. And what this is saying is care less on the hands. And I think what this is really suggesting is that you may be putting a lot more work in for other people than yourself. And so you don't want to be careless in doing that. You also want to be able to take a step back without caring less. I think you want to be careful being taken advantage of with whatever this is about. You may be putting other people ahead of yourself and not necessarily considering everything that you need for yourself. Let me know how you resonate with those messages, Diane. I do hope that that makes sense in terms of the emotional activators that are involved here in what's happening here. I think it if with the Hierophant card being the important message on the table, um, I think you want to be careful doing this in a way that you don't feel comfortable. I think you want to feel comfortable with the structure that's put in place. You want to be able to follow that systematic approach. You want to be able to understand the process that's involved. That's going to help you feel better in this. It's going to relieve some of those emotional triggers. If you understand the process, you're not going to feel left in the dark. And if you understand where the process is heading, then you're certainly not going to be worried about that clarity or not being able to see where it's headed, right? With the cards that have come out. I do hope that this is helpful. I'd like to extend on this reading just one more time. I'm not sure where to go in the reading. Do you have a suggestion, Diane, on a question perhaps on what's appeared here, or a direction that I can go in? I'm just looking at my decks as a whole and trying to feel which deck I feel drawn to most. I'm wondering if my Alchemist deck will be helpful. I think I'm going to look at my Alchemist deck. This deck is based on alchemy and numerology. It is an intuitive style reading deck. It is an oracle based design to it. And I'm just going to focus. I'm going to ask 3 cards for this deck, and we're just going to look at the messages that you need to hear for yourself. Now, this deck often focuses on personal development and spiritual paths. And so I'm just going to keep that in mind as I read your reading and we look and analyze what these messages mean. I have a feeling what it's going to give you is what you need to hear for yourself moving forward. That's what my focus. Excuse me. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. This is the Stars card reversed. It often represents inspiration, and it's really suggesting that you need to find the inspiration in yourself and not necessarily from others. The star in numerology, the star in tarot structure is often about that bright light that we have inside of us that shines. it usually represents a skill or a quality, a special quality within us, or a healing aspect, or something that we shine and others heal from that. And it makes a difference for others. For you, with the star reversed, it can often mean that you may not realize that that light is inside you, and so you don't shine it as bright as you could. You need to look for the inspiration within inside you to shine that light, to be in your best and your fullest. 1010 in numerology is often about on off on off. This could be going back and forth for you, where in your experience of what this topic is on the table, it could be like back and forth. This could be negative and positive. This could be busy and not busy. This could be stagnant and full, or it could be there are opposites at play here, and it's like back and forth, back and forth. And then there's some uncertainty involved. I really think you want to be careful with the uncertainty card coming up. You just want to make sure that you do what's right for yourself and that you're making the right decisions for yourself. Um, Given that there's this like back and forth and kind of craziness, it speaks to like a chaotic kind of energy with this uncertainty, with these two cards being side by side. This back and forth and then chaoticness or uncertainty just creates this chaotic feeling. I think the first thing you want to focus on, Diane, is to turn this card around. Focus on being certain. Focus on that special ability, that skill that you have inside you that you can shine, and that's going to find that self-inspiration. I think if you can shine that light, that's going to inspire you to then step into your power and do what you need to do for yourself. When I look at this reading as a whole and I bring it right back to where you are, the advice in here makes sense that helps you flip this card around and sit in the King of Cups throne. This is all about actions that you're taking. Only wands are the only suit that's ended up on my table today. In this reading. And so I just think, other than where you're sitting energetically, which is a cup, which is emotion, I really think that this is about the actions that you need to take moving forward. I think you can make this decision given that you have the Hierophant card in your position. You're going to take the systematic approach and do what's expected of you. So as long as you're following through with that and you're following your intuition on what's important to you and what's expected out of what's expected, then you're going to make the right decisions for yourself. I do hope that's helpful. I'm just going to look here for a moment and see if there's any other. Right. Some of the feedback that I got from the reading, thank you so much for that confirmation, just letting me know that I'm on the right track in terms of the messages that have been received here. Definitely, Diane, you want to be careful that you're not taken advantage of, or that you don't put others ahead of you to the point that it causes you to harder situations for yourself. I do hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any final questions there, Diane. I see. Thank you for that feedback, Diane. I think as long as you do what's expected of you and you make the right decisions for yourself, you're on it. I mean, it seems like you have the ability to make this happen. It's just a matter of making it happen. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give you a reading. And thank you, everyone, for joining me on this live broadcast, and for those of you who requested a reading tonight. And for those of you who didn't get on my list, I will include you in the draw. The draw happens on Monday, June 18th, 2024. I usually do the draw around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time that day in the morning, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I reach out to the winners through a message. So if the winners reached out to me on this broadcast, then I will get back to you through Facebook Messenger, letting you know that you're a winner. If you don't receive a message on June 18th, please check your messages. If you don't receive a message, better luck next time. I do only respond back to the winners. The winners, when you gain the when you get into the draw and you're a winner, I respond to you, and you have a certain amount of time to respond back to schedule that Zoom meeting. So just keep that in mind. Check your messages, make sure that you don't miss that opportunity. Now I just see some messages. Just one last question there from Diane. Will your building get finished? I think the way that your reading had come out and the way the cards had depicted, I think the ability is within you. I think the building will get finished as long as you put in the work that's needed, or you do what's needed or expected of you to make that happen. So it's really up to you. If you don't put in the work that's expected of you, it may not get done. So just make sure that you're doing what you need to do for yourself and that you're following your intuition and trusting your instincts. I think you can make this happen. I do hope that's helpful. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, my next Tarot Talk Live event will be Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. We're going to start around 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, similar to what we did tonight. And to join me, if you're watching this from my website, to join me on the Tarot Talk Live event, just go to facebook.com/bryantarotreading, and you will be accessible to the Stafford Tarot Facebook page. And if you go into the upcoming events section on the Facebook page, there's the live, and you can, it's called Tarot Talk, and you can click to join, and you'll get a reminder when I go live on July 9th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just want to thank everyone for joining. I really appreciate everyone coming to receive readings from me. I always enjoy meeting new people. And if you're interested in the upcoming workshops, keep watch for those event announcements or upcoming event announcements on my website. I very much look forward to getting the announcements out for those dates. I do know that the Spirit Talk online event, which is the Introduction to Mediumship workshop, will be happening in the fall, around October, probably end of October, beginning of November. There'll be an early bird discount that will be revealed on my website. So a specific date that you can get a discount if you sign up and register before that date. And then leading up to the event itself will be the full fee. Any questions? Again, www.staffordtarot.com is my website, and I do keep it up to date with as much information on there as possible, including all sorts of resources if you want to try and learn how to do this yourself. Thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to the next Tarot Talk Live event. Take good care, everybody. Talk to you again soon. Feel free to reach out to me on that website. There's a lot of interaction available. You can send me a message directly. You can send me a text message. Email is available from there. Or feel free to reach for me through my social media or my email, bryantarotreading@gmail.com. Take good care, everybody. Bye for now.